It's not about motivation when it's need discipline. Wake up and win today. Discipline comes from within.
Boxing King Media in association with Boxraw. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Gareth A. Davies, all the way from, I feel like I want to say Spain or somewhere like in the Mediterranean, in your little villa, little big villa, should I say, smoking I was going to say cigar, but a vape. But that's
Well,
not
I'm
the
actually
case,
in
is it?
compounds, but I'm in my compound right now. Yeah, but I'm in Essex.
Yes.
But the weather's like being in Spain today. It's absolutely beautiful, and I put the red jacket on for because your subscribers enjoyed it so much last time, as you told me in the comments. I thought I'd put it on for the start of the interview.
Yeah, that you set the comments on fire last time when wearing that red jacket. So I'll start with that, Gareth, because they did come up with a lot of wild ideas as to why you was wearing that jacket. So I'll uh, I'll drop these on you before we jump on to the boxing, because I think there's a certain amount of people that tune into these interviews just to listen to this bit and then they switch off. So I know a lot of people in boxing are like, how does Gareth let you ask you these questions? I'm like, Gareth's cool, he don't give a shit. Right. Gareth is the type of guy to drink champagne in a beer glass because he doesn't drink lager.
Yeah, that's true.
I
That's
thought it would
true.
be.
That's true.
Okay. Gareth's the type of guy that pretends to be in a Michael Jackson tribute act when at home in his red leather jacket.
Right in front of the mirror, Thriller. Yeah. No, I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. But people do think it's very much the Michael Jackson jacket, isn't it?
Yeah, from the
He
Thriller.
made the red leather jacket very famous.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not the same one.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't. It'd probably be in a in a in a frame, wouldn't it, up on the wall?
Mm.
But no, it's. I just thought I'd put it on for you guys again today, just because we keep the comments going.
Okay. Gareth, are you the type of person to watch a sad film when you're hungover just so you can have a good cry?
um, it's a really funny one.
That is.
No, I like a sad film when I'm in a sad mood. I like a no, I like a sad film or a romantic film, not when I'm hungover. No, I'm very rarely hungover. I only drink, as you know, tequila blanco, um, and silver tequila, and I don't really get hungover if I'm honest. I don't ever drink so much that I am hungover. So. It's no, I'll just watch a sad film when I do want to have a really good cry, but not when I'm hungover.
Okay. Have you nicked that jacket from Bonnie Tyler in the 80s?
Yes, it's Bonnie Tyler's old jacket.
I just Googled it. Yeah, it's exactly the
Yeah,
same.
Bonnie Tyler's. It's Susie Quattro lives just down the road. I nicked it off her
Okay.
down in
Uh,
Double Bates Drive.
Gareth, I like this one actually because you're gonna have to prove yourself today, Gareth. No pressure. Gareth is the type of guy who keeps a massive piano in his living room just for show.
Absolute nonsense.
You're gonna have to show these guys if you can play the piano now, Gareth. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
No, I'm not doing that live on. I'm too nervous to play.
Oh, he's
No, I'm not
tricking
doing
out.
that. That's a big exclusive. That one.
Is it? All right, okay. For now, we're just gonna say unknown with the can or can't. Gareth is the type of guy to always get let off for smoking vape in places he shouldn't be smoking it.
Oh, terribly so. That's such a good call. I'm so terrible. I was smoking on the bus the other day with one of my daughters, and I got
Mm.
on the bus, and I don't often get on the bus, and in London, and I put my vape up to my mouth. And she looked at me, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Sorry." So I got caught by my daughter being one of the feds. Um, but I think a lot of people who vape get away with it
Mm.
because it feels unlike cigarettes. It feels less intrusive.
Hmm.
But yeah, I am one of those. Yeah, I am one of those.
Last one, Brad Pitt is out looking for his jacket from Fight Club. So
If only, if
mhm,
only. It was acquired, as you know, last week, a
yeah,
few years back. And if it was Brad Pitt's and he wants it, he can have it back. Huge admirer of his work.
good stuff. You can take it off now if you want, Gareth, because I'm
Yeah, I
assuming
will. I'll take it off.
I'm assuming you could end up getting a bit warm and sweaty under that leather.
Not really, but
Let's start with the boxing, Gareth. Saturday night, Matchroom had a show in Liverpool. It was a new venue, never been to that before. The National Exhibition Centre. It's right next to the Echo Arena, um, like a next gen type show. I think the two people that stood out on the show were Hamza, Uddin, and Junaid Bostan. So I'll talk about Hamza first because he was on earlier. I interviewed him 8 months ago, and I knew how good he was as an amateur. But sometimes you don't know how good the kids are until they step in a professional ring. And damn, how good was he?
yeah, very good. And he's very flashy and he does all the right things. I think his father, Siraj, I think
Mm,
it's Siraj,
it is, yeah.
uh, is in the background with him. He's been around the sport a lot while. He looks like a real star. As you and I were talking about before we came on air, um, he's from family originally from Bangladesh, so it's great to have a Bengali involved in the sport. I mean, they are really coming through. I mean, when I go down to Brick Lane and East London, Bethnal Green, obviously it's a big Bengali community, and there's loads of people stop me and talk about boxing, and it's really nice to see Bangladesh coming through with their fighters because they've been here two and a half generations now, and it was always going to happen. And I think we're going to get some fantastic fighters coming through, and I think this guy could be, what Amir Khan was maybe back in 2004 for the Muslim Pakistani community, how Amir was instrumental in just creating that conduit for all those fans and fighters and business and interest coming from, and passion as well. And there's a lot of passion involved in these communities for the sport. So I think Guy, he's fighting again on the 22nd of June, isn't he?
He
He's
is.
managed by Sam Jones. Sam's very forthright in bringing his fighters forward. I've got his picture up here. He's a handsome kid. He looked fantastic physically on the night. As you were mentioning, 8 national championships, 7 international gold medals as an amateur. He's done it the right way. It's going to be very, very interesting career.
Indeed. So, and then Junaid Boston, a fascinating fight. Jack Martin was coming in on the back end of beating CJ Challenger, was 14-0. And I understand he had a lot of other good wins as well against guys with winning records. A basic fighter, but very strong, very durable, and one of these guys that if you're not cut out for it, he will kind of sink you later on in the fight. And he took Junaid into the later rounds, took some heavy shots earlier on, and then obviously got folded with that left uppercut.
I didn't think it was going to last long, actually. I was watching it from Talk Sport, and Junaid Boston is someone we should really look out for. What is he? Super welterweight, yeah, light
He is, yeah.
middleweight. Um, I've run into Junaid. He was with one of his Love Island friends one morning when I was on my way up to Sheffield.
Yeah.
I can't remember what's going up now. Did we have an event up there? I was certainly on my way up there for some reason. No, I know I was going up. I was going up to see the Undisputed game that day. I think we had an
Yeah.
event that day as
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
I think he's got great sparring with people like Dalton Smith. He's in great hands with Grant Smith up there, and I think he's trained by someone else in the gym as well. But I remember having that chat with him that morning, and his mate from Love Island, I can't remember his name. They'd been out all night in London. I ran into them in an early morning breakfast time. They were both getting the train back up to Sheffield. Junaid had been out all night, hadn't had a drink, was really vibrant. What I like about he's got a really passionate intensity about him, and he's got an intensity as a human being that I really like about him, that makes me feel kind of instinctively that he's going to go a very long way. For me, he's a street fighter as well. He's like got that style about him, and he's got that ruggedness as a human being. He's still a young man. Was he 21? I think, Junaid.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's very strong at the weight, and he's got a great style, and I think he'll go up the levels. I thought he was going to get his opponent out of there early on Saturday night. Like you say, he did show a bit of resistance and wherewithal to go a few rounds with Bostan, but yeah, I just think he's living the life. He's really driven to succeed. He's one of my ones to watch at the moment in British boxing. So congratulations to him again on Saturday night, and also looking forward to seeing a lot more of Hamza Uddin as well.
Yeah, that pretty much kind of sums up the show, to be fair. How long before do you think he's still at the development stage? Do you want to see him thrown into like because I think he's gonna fight Lee Cutler next for the English title.
Yeah, that's good. That's exactly where he should be right now. I mean, I think he's probably still 2 years away from, or a year and a half away, 2 years away from European, getting in the world title rankings. He's got a lot of developing to do. He needs to. He's a ready kind of guy. There's no question about that. And as I say, kind of definitely lives the life. So I just think got a lot of time for him. I just think the things he does, the things he says, Boxing King Media, all resonates for me as a young professional who is in the sport for all the right reasons and is addicted to it and is built for it. That's what I feel about him all the time. Whenever I meet him, he's built for it. He's really, really built for it.
So, and the other thing I want to speak to you about is this really strange relationship between Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn. We saw them working together. We saw them at the press conference together the other week, and then obviously Oscar got the win. And then we're seeing Oscar comment on all these posts on Instagram, basically telling Eddie to stay in the UK and he's not welcome in the US and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously there's been a bit of back and forth. What do you think's going on there? It just seems like a bit of a strange relationship.
Yeah, I just think it is a strange relationship. I think they're very fractious. I don't think they get on at all. I think there's a problem between them. I think that I think when they work together in public, they're fine. But I do think, like Eddie Hearn said, there wasn't a seat for him ringside when Haney and Garcia fought. Have we spoken about that or not?
No, but that's what Eddie's told me as well. Yeah.
Biggest heist, one of the biggest heists in history by Ryan Garcia, and he's still partying hard with the DJs and in front of Donald Trump, and he's doing the right thing. He's staying up because he is going to have a fall at some point. You know that he's going to come down. He's still, very up from his victory. It's a brilliant victory, by the way. Very, very thrilling. I think Oscar never really took to Eddie Hearn when he went to America 6 years ago with the DAZN deal anyway. Now that they're working on the same platform together, it's kind of accentuated the difficulties between the two men. And, Oscar's pretty zany, as you know. I mean, 1 minute, you can get time from him and he's brilliant. Another time he's kind of flying and he's all over the place. And he's that kind of character. And Eddie chopped back at him, didn't he, really, by saying, I could never, ever do anything in boxing terms like Oscar De La Hoya is an all-time great. But the problem is, in comparison, you can compare me and him as a boxer and me and him as a promoter, and we're the other way around. And, again, it's a put down. Eddie likes a bit of attrition, as you know, in interviews, and he flew into him on last week, the whole of last week, and he flew into him on Talk Sports on Saturday night when I spoke to him, just before you were about to speak to Eddie. So that relationship ain't going to change. And I think Oscar, you can't say no one has the right to come and do this in my territory. This is the planet we live on, and business goes everywhere, and people can promote wherever they need to promote, and it's just wherever it works, as we're seeing with the Saudi Arabians, His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh investing in an event in Los Angeles on August 3rd. You can't just say that belongs over there and that belongs over there. It's just so narrow-minded, and that's not the way the world is or should be, in my view.
Definitely so. And well, just talking of that, we saw His Excellency put a DM out of a screenshot that Oscar actually messaged him praising him for the card in LA.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of an outing in a way, wasn't it? Because what was Oscar doing criticising no one's taking over my territory? And then he was sending a DM to His Excellency saying, this is fantastic, I respect you. I don't know. I think Oscar needs to get in the mix and realise he really needs to be in that mix. DAZN is one of the conduits at the moment for Saudi Arabian advancement into America. It's a very important market for them as well, of course. So Eddie Hearn's fallen on his feet there. It's a brilliant card. Terence Crawford against Madrimov is a good fight. I still think Crawford's too good, too smart to get beaten up by Madrimov, and I think he'll win handily. I think it'll be a really good fight, and the card is great. It's great to see Andy Ruiz back, for example, in my view. Excuse me, and see him in the top 20 heavyweight mix.
Been out for a long time.
But to have Valenzuela and all these guys on this card, to Andy Cruz, there's so many stars on that card outside those big six, if you like, the six kings, the six young princes, shall I say, rather than the four kings, the six young princes, now fighting between, 140, 147. Shaka Stevenson, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Keyshawn Davis. What a mix. And I've said this before, and I said it on Saturday night, there were 9 fights between the four kings, Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, and Duran, between 1980 and 1989. And imagine how many fights we're going to get between those six between now and, say, 2030. It's an incredible thought. And outside that grouping, you've got this card in Los Angeles in America with a lot of the other stars who aren't those six. I think it's a great move. And it just shows the intent, the positive intent that His Excellency and his team have to nourish the roots of the best fights in boxing right now. Let me just clear my throat, sorry. Oh, excuse me.
It's all right. And just moving away from that, I want to talk to you about Chris Eubank Jr. We saw Callis Allen put something out the other day saying that they've parted ways, and he seemed quite amicable from that post. But Chris has put something out last night which kind of reads slightly differently, where I think he kind of highlights the fact that fighters should learn to have good people around them, solicitors and lawyers, and also suggesting that it's he's now a free agent, almost like he's just come out of prison type of thing. Obviously, he's not said that, but that's how I'm reading it. I don't know how you read it.
Well, I think he's just giving wise advice, which is, you go back in time, people like David Hay and Adam Booth. David Hay and Adam Booth organised his own career. There is a history of promoters, not abusing fighters, but the promoter is the emperor. It's like the emperor with the gladiators, and that's all. It's always been that way in a certain. It's always been that's the format of things that the promoters run the show. I think he's quite a smart guy, Chris, and I think he's probably airing vague grievances, but I think they've done pretty well for him. The super middleweight series, I think did very, very well from. He's had some phenomenal fights. I think he's probably earned a lot of money through the Sauerlands. I've always seen them as a very good union. I thought they were good together. looking back on it, he probably wishes he'd, you know, promoted himself, or in some ways, and he probably would have been capable of it. But you know, the 25% or whatever percentage they take, I think as fighters get older, they look back and think, you know, why was I giving that away? This is my blood, sweat, and tears. This is my life. These are the dents in me that are being made by the fights. And I think sometimes there's a kind of I think it's understandable. There's a degree of resentment, but then the promoters can give their argument. But you know, we put ourselves out for you. We did all the work for you. You know, and so we needed paying as a result. It'll always be an unequal or an unequal argument that one side of it does the physical work in the ring and sacrifices something, and the other side does the business, and that's the way it works. Unfortunately, I don't think there was any major resentment.
Do you not think that, you know, based on that post, something's been going on behind the scenes, like a bit of a internal battle, you know, over contracts and all that kind of stuff? Do you think that's what delayed or kind of was the reason why no fights materialized for him?
Well, clearly he's not happy about not having fights. I mean, I also think that my instinct is, if he was able to get out of his deal right now, and there is a Chris Eubank, as there is a Conor Benn fight coming up in some kind of imminent future, and my word, we need to hear about the outcome of that, of what happens now with Conor Benn after the board won their appeal. I think, you know, the fact he's a free agent now, if he can negotiate for himself for a fight with Conor Benn, which I still think will happen, by the way, in, you know, around September time, I do think they'll fight. That's my feeling anyway. I have an instinct on that.
It's unfortunate that hasn't reached its conclusion, and you know, it's almost unfair for all parties involved in it. Realistically, they've obviously won the appeal, and obviously Conor Benn's now sat waiting for this, you know, see what the next stage is, and obviously his career is getting stalled. And
they need to sit around the table and get it organised. I mean, like,
I mean, there's varied opinions on who's right, who's wrong, but realistically, like you just said there, they need to get together. Everyone knows what story they've all got. Everyone needs to put that story on the table, and just somebody then needs to decide what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, that's my feeling on it as well. I mean, because there's a big fight there that can still happen. Chris has been fairly inactive, I'd say. It's probably going to be his last fight. And I think if he does fight Conor Benn, I think it probably, well, unless they have an amazing fight and they fight twice, he's probably very close to the end now. What weight they do it at, I don't know. Probably at middleweight, which really suits Chris Eubank. I know his father doesn't want him to do it. I sat with him in Mayfair one morning about 2 months ago, and he was saying that he really doesn't want that fight to happen. But my instinct is that's what's happening here. He's got out of his contract. I think the Conor Benn fight is much more likely now, because he's going to be negotiating for himself with his legal team, you know, probably doing the deal for him. So it's very interesting times for him.
Let's see what happens, Gareth. It's at the end for us, I think. Thank you for your time as always. I'll see you next week, I'm guessing. Yeah, absolutely. If not this week, at the Richard Riacore and Chris Billham-Smith press conference. Right, cheers, my friend. See you. Bye-bye.
Win gold now. IPMB is giving away 5 24-karat gold coins to our token holders worth over $2,000 each.
Let's do this.
Thank you very much for this great news. It's amazing.
It's never been easier to own gold, so join the raffle now.
Listen, I got a question for you. Where can discipline take you? Discipline points you toward your goals.